Welcome back to The Owner Seat, the show for real operators who want the truth about what's working in fitness, wellness, and longevity, and what's quietly breaking behind the scenes. Today's guest sits in one of the most powerful seats in the industry, not on a stage, not on a brand's payroll, but the center of the stories that shape what coaches, founders, and operators believe. Elisa Edelstein is the editor-in-chief at Coach360, based in Los Angeles, and she spent years inside the health and wellness content world, writing, publishing, and watching what gets rewarded and what gets ignored. She's also a NASM Certified Personal Trainer, which matters because she's lived the coach side too, not just the media side. This conversation is for the people who are tired of the polished industry narrative, and I see it all day on LinkedIn, and the highlight reels and facade. Because right now, the reality is coaches are burnt out, operators are fighting staffing and retention, consumers are drowning in misinformation, and media is being pulled between truth and monetization, sponsorships, or what I like to call the pay-to-play game. Yes, we're going there today. No hype, no BS. We're walking through what stories actually matter, what the industry keeps getting wrong, how career development for coaches is evolving, and what the future of fitness and wellness looks like when you strip away the hype. Elisa, welcome to the Owner Seat podcast. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. I was so bummed that our last one got kicked out. I've been very much looking forward to a rerun.
It was all Kathleen's fault. Let's just blame her. Is that cool? Sorry, Kathleen. All right. So I want to jump right in because we've had a ton of conversations. And what I appreciate about you is that you're so raw and authentic. By the way, love your stories because I see it. I read it. I could feel it when I read every single one of your stories. Like there's just this sense of love and authenticity and like really getting deep to each one of the stories that you write. I read every single week, every newsletter that pops up in my inbox. So keep up the great work. It's amazing.
That is so kind. I get, they say creatives have the highest amount of imposter syndrome. And so it's always so sweet to me when I, like in my head, I'm just like, whatever. I just like put out a newsletter. It's whatever. And then people are like, I read your article on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you read it? Like, oh my God.
You are killing it. For those that don't know, you're the editor-in-chief at Coach360, as I'd mentioned. So what's the mission you're actually trying to drive with the platform through each one of your stories?
Yeah. So I've been really lucky to align. I came in at Coach360 when they really had started up the newsletter. And I came on as really just someone to contribute a few stories every now and then. I think we said maybe 6 a month. At the highest point, I was probably writing 6 a week rather than 6 a month. And so I got really lucky that it aligned so well and that Kathleen and Al have trusted me in that regard. And I've been able to do what I think is really important and not just tell the news, not just give the breaking information, but to really do it through a storytelling lens. And I think that that's really important because like you said, it's that connecting piece, right? It's not just information. It's really easy to say like, this is Albert. This is what he does. This is why he does it. Right. And it's very different to talk about your why and to understand what motivated you and what your stories are that have led you to building what you're building. And so to me, it's really special to really get to that storytelling element and kind of combining that journalism with news, I guess. And so
what I love about that?
Yeah.
And especially with this world, and we'll talk Coach360 and AI because you guys are crushing it there too. I love the announcement around the fit score and all of that. But what I was trying to get at is in this world of LinkedIn now with all of this AI and all these articles that I'm reading, I'm like, I could totally tell. And it's not the M dash or the emoji. That's like total basic. I think we're past that point. Now you could tell chat, don't do it anymore. You could tell GPT and it won't. But it's still, you could tell sense instruction. Like no one talks that way. What I love about what you do is it is truly told. And what I think there's a thirst for more nowadays, which is give me the story, pull at my emotional heartstrings.
Yeah.
Right. And you do that. And there was a couple of stories recently. You even said, I think you posted about it. You reshared that, I could really actually relate with this personally. Like this wasn't just an important story. Right. But you can relate with it on a lot of different levels. And I know a lot of people felt the same way. I saw the comments.
That's so sweet.
That's why
That makes me happy. And, Kathleen has been pushing me more and more to put like my personal lens and not just to think about, what maybe an operator or a coach would want to read, but really people like us who are just enthusiastic about overall health and wellness and content that they'd be interested in. And so, there are a couple of pieces that come to mind right now. The Sean Ray classic story was really fun for me to write based
Oh,
on like my history in bodybuilding and watching Kathleen take
yeah.
the stage and kind of like that moment that we got to share together. And that was like a
They
really
both are.
fun one. And then I wrote a story about these girls, Kate and Hannah, who are the Cacao Girls, is what we call them. I met
Mhm.
them in my personal life. I'm obsessed with this band Goose, go to a bunch of their shows, and Hannah
There you
and
go.
Kate actually lead different pre-games. So instead of going and taking shots in the parking lot, they're leading these cacao ceremonies where you're setting intention and really getting into this amazing, beautiful, connected headspace to the
Mhm.
music and the experience that you're about to have. And now they're doing our opening ceremony at Career Lab in January.
Oh, no way.
Came from just a passion of mine being like, hey, I think this is cool. And as we're like going to more sober, curious spaces in health and wellness, I think
Mm.
it's worth telling the story. And Kathleen totally trusted that. And it literally has evolved into becoming an event for us, which
It's
is so,
blown up.
yeah. And they're such lovely women. It was like
Yeah.
such a, yeah, I love that. I love that
For
person.
those that yeah, for those that haven't seen that story or read it, gotta go on it. Number 1, subscribe, right? So you can get all the stories, but that was so good, and yeah, we'll talk about Coach Lab here in a sec, January 17th, right, in LA. I might need to make my way over there. It sounds like it's gonna be a big hit. I saw the last one, it was huge.
It's, you know, what's cool is it's like, it's a very intimate experience, right? We had 100 coaches there, and then obviously a lot of
Amazing.
just industry professionals, amazing human beings sharing their experiences. It is, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. I will talk
For
about it
sure.
forever, but it is a really special and very different type of event. So,
So we talked about the differentiator of these stories on this the Coach 360 platform, but you have a differentiator too. You've lived on both sides, whether that be, like I mentioned, the certified coach and being boots on the ground, understanding the ground truth, and now being this media operator, chief of staff, right? What have you found founders misunderstand about coaches because they've never done the job or maybe even like
yeah.
led them?
Yeah, it is. So it's actually really unique. Kathleen, Al, and I all come from either a training or a coaching background. So
Yeah.
it's a problem that we both knew, or all three of us knew very intimately. We lived it, we
Hmm.
experienced it. I've spoken to so many people about the experience of being a trainer and what it's been like to kind of evolve into a different fitness job, I guess, or fitness, health, and wellness career. I think that you miss so much by not experiencing being on the floor. Or, you know, I worked at LA Fitness for a year as a trainer, and I called that my paid internship because
Hmm.
I barely got paid. And it was a really valuable learning experience. And I ended up launching my own business because of that, because I wanted to make money and have a career trajectory. And I think that a lot of them don't understand the grit and the grind. They don't know how hard it is when you don't have, there's a ceiling with trainers, I think, a lot of time, right? There's no clear expectation of where you can go. Can I build a stable business while I'm trying to build a family? There are a
Mm.
lot of things that go kind of unnoticed. And I think trainers are and coaches are the backbone of the industry. Like they are the ones
Yeah.
on the ground really doing that dirty work. They're the lowest
Yeah.
paid form of therapy possible in my book. And it's emotional work, it's physical work, it's mental work, it's all of the above. And if you're a good trainer, you're coming prepared to your sessions. And yeah, I just think that they don't always understand how tough it really is.
And when I think of trainers or fitness professionals, I don't necessarily only think about the one-on-one personal trainers. I
Right?
think of the
Group fitness.
small group training coaches, yeah, group fitness instructors. Like I think about it all the time. For instance, the trainers that are doing 120 sessions plus a month, like, how are
Totally.
you doing this? Or those group fitness instructors, small group training instructors that are back to back, maybe 8 classes a day. And I'm like, man, I can't even get through like one workout. How are you doing eights? Like, I don't get it. Like body pump and then cycle right after. It's like, holy smokes, these people are beasts. And you're
And
one
they
of them, obviously.
remember everybody's name in the class. They remember what's
Yeah.
wrong with them and how they need to
Performers.
adjust. They need to know their kids'
Yeah.
name and their spouse's names and all these other details about them and keep them all
Hmm.
straight and do it with a smile on their face while they're moving and teaching. And they have their own things going on in their own personal life. And then Sally stays after class to talk about the divorce she's going through. And
Yeah.
someone else's dog is sick. And like, that's so real, right? The emotional aspect of that and just showing up with that smile every single day. It's like Disney, you don't break character.
Yeah. The show
You can
must go
still be
on.
like real and vulnerable, but you're there for a reason. And that's to motivate people and to help them on their journey.
Mm. Yeah, it's so good. Well, I love your perspective. And again, it's the ground truth. I think that's one of your superpowers of the many that you have. And I'm curious, right? And this could be from your own experience. Maybe you've tried something, speaking of stories and getting some stories out there, or maybe it's one of these other media outlets that, we all get to read each other's stuff.
Yeah.
What's a story that you wish our industry in the fitness and wellness space would talk about more, but you've
Mhm.
seen it doesn't necessarily get the clicks right now? Maybe it's just not the
Yeah.
hot story, but it's really important. We need to chat about it more. Have you seen any of those that you feel like, dang, this should have been a banger and it just has
Yeah.
fallen flat?
A lot of it. I mean, okay, I'm a huge environmental health nerd. If you've read my
Mhm.
stuff, you probably have seen I sprinkle it in pretty much as
I do.
often as I can. I think that that's really important. I think it's a really hard thing to do though, because with environmental health stuff, for anyone who's like unaware of what I'm talking about in this space, essentially environmental health is how the things that we engage within our environment affect us. So breathing air,
Mhm.
drinking water, eating food, the things we put on our body, the things we clean our houses with, the candles we burn, all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
is constantly affecting us, and we're starting to talk more and more about it, which is really cool. I do see, I mean, back in the day, 2020, I worked for USPIRG, the United States Public Interest Research Group. I
Okay.
was the head of the toxics team. So I'm
Oh my
fighting
goodness.
L'Oreal, trying to get them to disclose what fragrance means. I'm
Mm.
fighting Chipotle and Wendy's and McDonald's and telling them to take PFAS out of their packaging for food. I'm going to trying to
Wow.
create Superfund sites and clean up all these super toxic waste sites that billion-dollar corporations left behind and have no plan on cleaning up, but is
When
making
when
it.
when did you do this?
I worked this job in 2020.
Wow,
At
okay,
that
so
time,
you're
I
like
had
5 years ahead of the time almost, right? Because now it's like with
right,
everything going on and
yes.
regardless of what you think what
Well,
anyone thinks about the administration, it seems like,
yeah.
some of this toxic stuff or
Mhm.
colorings and all of that is
Yeah,
like now top of
and
mind, right?
the tip of the iceberg. If you want some
Yeah.
hot takes, I've definitely got some hot takes there, but
Oh, don't tell me. I just wanna eat and use stuff, like, I don't tell me. Don't
no,
tell me.
not even from that, but just, like my feelings towards like what we're doing to actually care for that. And you see it now, right? Like
Mm,
we're starting to talk about PFAS chemicals and petroleum in
yeah,
our workout gear,
right.
right? So 6 years ago, when I was talking about PFAS chemicals, people on Instagram were literally telling me to shut up. They were like, it doesn't matter, it's inconsequential.
Oh my goodness.
Like, okay, right, my bad. The year before that, I wrote my master's thesis on single-use plastic and policy reform, and everybody told me I was nuts for talking about
Mm.
microplastics and nanoplastics, and now it's like a hot topic.
I used to microwave my, like, leftovers in my
Everybody,
plastic and thought I was good.
it was convenient. It's like,
Yeah,
and how can you know if they don't educate you? And so I
right.
think, that's one of the things I wish we talked about more is how the things in our lives truly affect us on a day-to-day
Mhm.
basis. And that's toxicity from things, but also relationships. If we're
Mm,
talking about health, it has to be well-rounded. Why are we scared to talk about sexual health, spiritual health? If we're talking about all
interesting.
these other things, environmental health, like I think that's all really, really important. And I think that sometimes we go too far in this industry to try to be creative and innovative and push for all these new things when we don't even talk about the basics a lot of times.
Yeah, that's
Movement,
a good point.
breathing, drinking clean water, getting outside, getting out of our computers and moving our bodies and spending time in communities. Like we talk about these things, but does it matter if you're on GLP-1s if you're not taking care of
Mm,
yourself in every other way? Does it matter if you are, tracking your steps if you're not happy with where you're at in life in your job? I don't know. Like there's so many factors that go into health that I
yeah.
think often kind of we forget because we get so excited by innovation that we forget the basics.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like some of these brands that are coming up, right? Obviously, I have an affiliation with Alchemy's House, but there's
Yeah,
other ship with some of these other bath houses or like
totally.
Soho House. They're trying to promote this like community slash, hey, you kind of meet up here and potentially create a healthy dating relationship, which I thought was interesting. At first, I was like, oh man, I just want to work out, but I
Right?
could see it. I could see like, well, where are other safe
Totally.
spaces, comfortable spaces where
Third
you can
space.
find some yeah, space is coming back where you
Love that.
find some relatable people that you can engage with, right? That maybe
Well,
have some
the
similar
world's
interests.
getting more and more digital and we're really craving human connection. And we talk about this
Right.
a lot too, right? That loneliness epidemic. And I truly think
Mm,
that health and wellness is one of the best ways to combat it.
yeah.
Like some of the best relationships, they're clear-headed, they're aligned, they're meaningful. I work in a
Mhm.
gym right now, and every day I see these relationships grow between members and between me and these members and the staff and
Yeah.
everybody. And it's just so cool to watch it unfold in real time.
Well, let's switch gears.
Yeah.
What are you finding again from experience or from other media outlets out there within our space? what are the topics that are just overshared? It's like overhyped, and you can't say AI because
No.
that's its own topic, but something else where it's just sensationalized. It's just like over the top. It's like, come on, y'all, let's move on. What do you find?
I think that we have a few things that a lot of it's just really repetitive. It's like
Yeah.
longevity. Yeah, okay, but what? Right?
Right.
Everyone's talking about longevity, but what does that actually mean? Right?
You know what's funny about that? It's like, haven't we been talking about this for like since
The
the day?
fountain of
Like,
youth was like
exactly. It's like,
out
I want to live longer. Well,
out
guess what? You
ago.
can't really. It's more like, can you live? I like what
And
Peter Attia
quality,
talks about. Exactly. Quality of life,
health
right? Are you
span.
living well?
I don't give a shit
Yeah.
about
Walk me through
if
that.
I'm not feeling well, if I'm not moving well, if I'm not able to like really be living my life. My
Mhm.
boyfriend always says he wants to live to 50,000. And I'm like, as long as my knees make it, like I'm game. But if my knees are out, I don't want to be a part of it. So that's a big
It's so
one.
funny. Yeah. It's so funny because like I think one of the news, and it wasn't Coach360, by the way, because you all have great stories, and I'm not bashing anyone else. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Hmm.
and I'll say it. There's stories about, I forget the gentleman is. I did watch his Netflix documentary. He wants to live to like 150, and then there's like the Dave Asprey as well. Like they're both trying to live forever, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just not relatable. Like, I'm not going to spend that money. Now, granted, I do want that one of those lamps for like
Yeah.
natural sunlight or whatever, because my vitamin D levels are
Yeah.
low. But it's just like, I'm not going to go inject myself and take my blood like every day. And like, I'm
Yeah.
just not going to do any of that stuff. Like, it just seems so out of reach. And then I just actually a part of my life just wants to wait. And like, and this is so bad to say, but it's like, man, one day they're going to die. And it's just going to be like, they were nowhere even close. Like,
Well,
we
and
were
for
all just gravitating to their story of like, they're going to live to 150. And it's just like, no, yep, I got them 89. They got them. It
yeah.
didn't matter. It is what it
And
is.
ultimately, is that a life? You know,
Exactly.
like if
Yeah.
everything that you do, and this is something personal, like I can relate because my environmental doom for sure got the best of me for a long time. I had to quit that job I talked about because it was like eating at me, right? Every time
I'd be in a bubble. I'd be like, I'm not touching,
no,
smelling,
every time I drink
inhaling.
water, I'm like, "Oh, this is probably giving me like cancer. You know, this is probably poisoning me."
Mm,
I'm eating food. I'm like stressed about literally everything, my detergent, everything, everything. And,
yeah.
you know, at a certain point, it's like stressing about this is going to do more harm for me than any of these things are actually doing to me. Right. So, am I living
Yeah.
my life if I'm just freaked out over everything forever? And I think the same is true with longevity. If all you're doing is your entire life is chasing more of it, but you're not living
Yeah.
it, what does it even matter?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. There's some
That's a good point.
poetic. Yeah.
Something to think about. By the way, I just installed one of those, like, I don't know what kind of water filtration systems. I'm out here in Texas, so they like, it's like drinking pool water. It's so chlorinated. And so
I
you
don't even
like,
wanna tell you about LA's tap water. I go to a
is
water
it bad?
store, go fill up at a water store with, like, reverse osmosis, all of it.
Oh, good for you. I've seen
Up
people do that. I'm like, they're
there,
weird.
I'm the weirdo. I am 100%
Yeah.
that weirdo. I have been forever. I went to an environmental high school, so that's, like, really where it kicked off for me. But
That's
yeah,
too
you can
funny.
look online, EWG, the Environmental Workers Group, they
Yeah.
have or working group, workers group. They have a database where you can put in your zip code and it will tell you like what your water tests at and what the guidelines
Oh,
should be. And it's like arsenic and lead and like all this yucky. Don't do it.
crazy. Well, I just want my skin to like be bright. So hopefully this water filtration
Can
maybe
help for sure.
fixes my rosacea or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. I probably need to stop
Report back.
doing some other stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'll report back. We'll have you back on. So walk me through. So yeah, obviously you connected with Al and Kathleen,
Mhm.
but when did you realize, especially like, I was mentioning you have boots on the ground. When did you realize that our industry had a PR problem, had a media story problem?
Yeah, I think so. I started my career as a writer in health and wellness in 2021, the end of 2021. I started working for an online health and wellness publication as a staff writer, and it was very lucky, I guess, that I got in on that. But that was really a lot of content of like best protein powders, best workout supplements for CrossFitters. We covered a lot of news, but I wasn't on that side of it. I was more on the
Oh,
like listicle and kind of evergreen health and wellness content side. And I worked with the American Council on Exercise as their copywriter right? Wow. You can tell that it's the evening time because
all good.
it's good.
This is the chief
Um,
of staff.
Don't worry, guys. I'm doing words for a living.
That's too funny.
I write for currently Transparent Labs, which is a lot of, it's like very informational, but it's a different type of writing, I guess, than what I do for Coach360. And so when I came in for Coach360, I was given a really cool opportunity, right? And I think it was to control a little bit of the narrative and how we tell stories. So, yeah, like I said, Kathleen, Al, and I had no idea day one when I came in ever that we probably would have been in the space that we're in today, where I'm editor in
That's
chief and
cool.
like actual part of Coach360.
Yeah.
But what my vision was really fit what they were trying to do. And the
Mm.
storytelling aspect of it is, I think, oftentimes what's missing. I think a lot of times it's very generic. It's about putting out the press release. It's being the first person to get something out. I don't care about that. I
Yeah.
will be the last.
You don't care about the clickbait stuff that I see left
And
and right on.
I don't need you to click on my publication just to get the exact same information that you could get anywhere else on the
Yeah,
internet. That does not
exactly.
interest me. It does not interest me. And you can ask anybody who's come to me and said, "Hey, Elisa, here's an interesting press release. Would you republish it?" That I will send them a batch of questions afterwards about their personal experience with whatever they're trying to get me to
Mm.
press release. And if they
Yeah,
do not get back to me, I will not publish it because I'm not going to just regurgitate information.
sure.
That's not what I do. I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like, I don't want to say force, that's not a good word, but when I'm going to tell someone's story, I either will send them interview questions to answer, or we will hop on a call and we'll do a 30-minute rapport and I get to know that person. And that gives me an actual ability to tell a story, right? I've had an experience with this person. I understand how they operate. I can hear the passion
Mm.
behind their project. And sure, I can't quote like a glint in your eye, but I can describe it, right? I can't necessarily put a picture of you as you're describing this thing that you're building and how excited you are, but I can always tell you through my words and express that. And I think that that's such an important differentiator to be like, Albert put this thing out and it's cool. You should check it out. Here's the website. On October 4th, 2022 in Austin, Texas, right? Versus
Yeah,
being like, tell me about the last 10 years building this thing.
right.
Completely different. I could give you the same information that's important to telling that like press release, but you get a real story behind it. And I
Sure.
think that's what's missing often. It's that emotional, it's that connection, it's that humanizing piece that doesn't
Mm.
just make you a brand, it makes you a person.
Well, let's talk about that. So I'm gonna get even a little bit more granular
Okay.
and keep it real because many of the audience, they want to know, right?
Yep.
We see some of these other brands, we see it all over LinkedIn or some of our other socials, and
Hmm.
they're putting out stuff, and sometimes it just makes me wonder, like, how does this all work, right? And what I mean by that, there is the right way, and I'll say this: there's the right way of doing it, which is telling this story and really getting into the depth of it all.
Hmm.
And then there's this, what I am assuming, but maybe you know better than I do. You definitely do. Is there this like pay to play? Like how is money being generated? I think of these like conferences. I think
Hmm.
of these articles or these press releases coming out. Like, can you give us just the raw? Like, how does this all get incentivized? How is money flowing?
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Because each publication is different, each media spot is different. And I can only speak on behalf of Coach360. I've
Sure.
heard rumblings of how things work across the
I
industry.
want to talk about those too. Let's talk about the rumblings. I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, just from our stand is that we don't do pay to play. I don't care how much money you give me. If what you're trying to get me to sell to my audience is BS, I will not do
Yeah,
it. And I am so grateful that Kathleen and Al also stand on that same business and
they're
that
aligned with it.
I've had
That's
people
good.
be disrespectful to me when I'm offering to write a story to them for them for free to give out to 40,000 people with over a
Yeah,
50% open rate.
that's right. I'm one
And
of them, by
you're
the way.
going to be
Good
rude to
job.
me? No, I will not tell your story. And I've told people so much because it's about human, right?
Mm.
I mean, I want to tell good stories, but there are so many people doing so many incredible, wonderful things across the industry. There's never a shortage of stories to tell. Everyone has a story. If I don't believe in what you're doing, if you are disrespectful to us, if you are throwing stuff out there that we are not getting down with, we're not telling your
Mm.
story. And that's just how it
Yeah,
is. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much power you have. Do what you want. It shows so much more. It's always going to say more about them than it does about us. And
sure.
I think it's true too, because once you start to say to someone, hey, I want to put you on my list, but you have to pay me $10,000 to get on this list, people talk about that.
Yeah.
People talk about that. It doesn't become like, it's not a surprise. And then what happens when people are like, oh, you paid $10,000 to be on that list? What does that say about your credibility?
Right.
That's why we don't do it. We talk about the people we believe in. We give kudos where they're deserved, where they're earned. We don't discriminate based on where you came from, what you look like, what type of business you're operating, what your story is, as long as it's something that we can stand behind and we believe in.
Yeah.
And if you're abusive to women or doing creepy things in the industry, I'm not telling your story. If you
Yeah.
are supporting something that's like not healthy or not actually helping people, I'm not telling your story. Like there are a lot of ways that I could do that and say
So
that.
it sounds like from a Coach 360 point of view, there's a really good, healthy vetting process.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is the vetting process is not dictated by money or capital, which it
No.
sounds like that potentially could be happening throughout the industry, but not with y'all. And what I love about what you do, the way you're explaining it, is there's a level of story, what I call heart,
Hmm.
right? Because I think the industry needs it. Like
I agree.
there's this ground truth that we need to remind ourselves of why we're doing what we're doing. And the other word that comes to mind is y'all are more transformational, where it seems like those that are out there,
Hmm.
no disrespect, but they're trying to make a quick buck. And granted, we're all trying to be in business. So I
Of
get that,
course.
right? That's the finance guy. I mean, we got to make
Of course.
some money, but
Of course.
right, it's not to create this false facade, right? Or false
Totally.
story or transactional experience or clickbait. And I think
Listen,
that's what you're,
we tell stories about people with millions of followers, and I tell stories like Hannah and Kate, who maybe have, I don't even know,
Mhm.
1,000 followers, right? It's a good story. It's a beautiful story. It's one of my favorite stories I've ever written. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care what money you have to bring to the table. When
Yeah.
that stuff aligns with us, they turn into great deals, into sponsorship dollars, into whatever it is to support a cool
Mm.
event. You've been to our events, people get in there, and of course they want to get behind that. We throw a good party, we have a good
Yeah.
time,
Great for
make
you.
good
Hell yeah. Yeah. I
connections, we
agree.
care about helping people. Like we don't see it as a you versus me. Even other publications, like I don't see this as a we're top dog and we're the only ones who can be in that space. I mean, there are people doing incredible things. FittInsider, unreal. We work with them. We're friends with them. We're
Yeah.
friendly with them. We
Yeah.
help them. We support them. They support us. They put things out about us. It doesn't have to be a you versus me. We're doing different things. We play different
Yeah.
roles. And I think that it's really important that we're all doing what we do and doing it how we do it. So I have nothing but respect for what everybody else is doing in their game, but for my game, and this is important. Like I'm an integrity human. I believe in that, and it wouldn't work for me to do it any other way. And so I feel I
Yeah.
did really find good alignment where we get to tell the stories we believe in, support the stories we believe in, share things, and we create
Yeah.
raving fans. We've grown an organic base of 40,000 subscribers in a year and
Amazing.
some change, a year and a half, whatever.
Not surprised whatsoever. And I actually think a lot of people listening to this, especially those that are aspiring to continue, whether it's their education or even their career
Mm-hmm.
in communication and
Oh,
marketing
yeah.
and, in media, I think this is super admirable because I think a lot of what you see out there, in a lot of cases, not Coach 360, but in a lot of cases,
Mm-hmm.
you do see this culture of pay to play, right?
Yeah.
You always wonder what's going on behind the scenes, transactional,
Oh,
almost a
yeah.
transactional culture. And it's hard to believe. It's kind of sad. You don't know what to believe, especially when you read it. And it sounds exciting. It looks exciting. It's like, wait a second, that seems like a lot of BS probably. So I love what you're putting down. And I'm curious because I'm sure, as I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
there's a time and a place to, for instance, capture sponsorship revenue and things like that. So you mentioned integrity. I love that. How do you make sure that you balance editorial integrity
Mm-hmm.
and at those times when it's appropriate, maybe for an event or something, sponsored content?
Yeah.
How do you know when to say yes or no to that?
Yeah. So I honestly don't handle sponsorships. That's Kathleen. She's on that. So, I'm, again, very lucky that I feel Kathleen, Al, and I are all very aligned. And it's been a
Mhm.
dream, really, finding people who I feel we jive very well, understand each other really, really well on a professional level, but also on our personal values and that integrity. With that, being said, so whenever they come to me and say, hey, we have to do editorial for this, or we're going to put something out about this, I'm trying to think if there's ever been a time. I mean, I'm thinking about all the people we work with. We're so lucky. We work with so many amazing, awesome companies.
Yeah.
Like we have so many awesome sponsors. I went down to Cerritos to hang out with Brian from InBody, and I was like, this is my job. Are you kidding? Like,
It's
showed
awesome.
me all around InBody. We had the best time. He's such a cool guy. Like,
I stay away from those things.
yeah, right. At least during
It's like, don't look at my
it's
printouts.
balance, baby. It's balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like we've got really lucky in that department that we work with a lot of really cool and incredible people. And Kathleen is also like a no bullshit type of person that she's just like, we jive or we don't. We're aligned or we're not. And that's okay. Not everyone is
Yeah.
meant to be aligned with us. And that's cool. And there's still room, right? I mean, I think about even when I was writing for that first publication I had mentioned, and I was writing about certain maybe supplements that I didn't necessarily feel were the best option, but I had to put them in this list.
Mhm.
And I would be really honest about it in a good way, like a kind way. But there's a nice way to say everything. And that's an important thing I've
Sure.
learned is that, there's a difference between being like, as a trainer, even let's say, the emotional intelligence to be like, well, you're fat versus like, hey, you're doing fine, obviously, the way that you are. But if you are struggling with your confidence or you want to feel like you can run that marathon, this is what we have to do. Right. Or being like, that
Yeah.
dress is ugly on you. It looks terrible. Or
Yeah.
being like, I loved the outfit you were wearing way more before. I think that was like so much more flattering. Right.
I like that. Well, what I like about what you're saying too, especially because now people realize I want my story to be told, but I want the real story to be told. And it's okay. Like this is why I did the
Yes.
owner seat is I don't want rainbows and butterflies. I don't
No,
want the highlight reel
it's
anymore. I'm
not
so
real.
sick of it. It's boring. It's so freaking boring.
Yes.
And I see some of these posts and articles out there. It's like,
Mhm.
man. And by the way, I'm in the whole race too, or the simulation as well. So I get it. But I also
Yep.
wanted this platform to be able to share the messiness. And what I love about what you're saying is, we're going to tell the messiness part of it too. Now we're going to polish it a little bit
Yeah.
so that,
Well, and that's so
respectful and
human.
kind and
Tell
all
me
that.
one person who isn't imperfect, who hasn't messed up or
Right.
done something or, made some sort of mistake. Dude, I do it on the daily, but I own it and I try to do better from it. Right. And that's, I think,
It's like I go to these conferences too, and it's just like, we are the best employer in the world 5 years in a row. I'm like,
or
BS, or we have these amazing JD Power scores. Great. How much did you pay? Like, it's just,
no.
I think people, including myself, I want to know what I'm reading,
Yeah.
I'm observing, and I'm hearing is real
Yes.
and true. And so I love what you're chatting about. It's cool to hear behind the newsletter that I'm reading, there's a vetting
Yeah,
process.
and I think that that's such an incredible piece of it, and like you're saying, like, everyone struggles. Everyone's got something going on in their business, and when we're all too afraid to talk about it, nothing gets solved. If we're all pretending
Yeah.
everything's perfect, we're never going to find a solution. Maybe you and I are struggling from the same thing, and Sally down the street has the problem solved because she was dealing with it 2 years ago and figured it out. And if we're not honest about it, we're never
Right.
going to get that answer.
So speaking of that, this is such a good transition because now I want the owner seat to be
Yeah.
kind of the hot
Okay.
seat at times. So speaking of that, like peer to peer, colleague to colleague, not necessarily competitor to
Yeah.
competitor, right? I think when you brought up FittInsider, partners to partners, Coach360, I think of FittInsider. Who else hits my feed? AthleTech. I think Club Solutions. Actually, it was just on a recent call. I'm like, yeah, you guys are still around. I used to read you all
Love
the
it.
time, and now I'm like, I felt bad about saying that. I'm like, shit, they're still here. Like I need to keep, consuming and being up to speed with what's going on in the industry. But in general, this isn't, sometimes I get a little the heated DMs. This isn't to say your personal brand, whoever I just mentioned out there or who I didn't mention, right? But what would you say in general? What are the highlights that this group of partners are doing really well when it comes to media, PR? And then what do you think in general, Coach 360 included, what could be improved?
Yeah, I think that like as a collective, like you said, we're all not necessarily competitors. And I think that that's like a very important differentiation. And I think that we all have our space that we take up. Like I said, mine is not about getting the news out first. It's about telling it from a storytelling lens. That's really important to me. I think some people care a lot more about being the first person to get that news out. And that's totally cool. I think that's important too, to be the hard hitter, to be the first. Like, that's great. That's just not our lane. And so I think that as a whole, like we're all really taking those different approaches. And even if we're telling the same story, we're telling it differently, which I think is great. And I think, that's doing it well. Nobody's like directly going at each other. If they have beef with me, I have no idea. I'm going to be also 100% honest with you in that I spend so much time putting together our newsletter that I don't really have time to read other people's newsletters. I don't really spend time on a lot of other publications. One thing I will say, I see FittInsider on my socials a lot organically. which I think is
Yeah.
really cool. Outside
Yeah.
of LinkedIn, of course, I see everybody's like reposted on LinkedIn because it's obviously my industry and I see a lot of people sharing the stories that these people are telling. But I see like on
Yeah.
Instagram, my people who are not in fitness industry reposting FittInsider stuff a lot. So I'm going to give them kudos because I think that that's really awesome that everyday lay people in the health and wellness, not industry, but just like world are taking that news in. That's really cool. That would be a dream of mine just to have people coming to the Coach360 for health content and to just maybe understand that world a little bit better.
Right.
I think what we talked about, the pay to play thing, I don't get behind that. That's like maybe a hot take.
Yeah.
I agree. Obviously, we have to make our money somewhere, but to get your name in something and you're paying to do it, like I don't think that that has integrity behind it. I don't love that. Again, not my
Especially when it's award
yeah,
driven.
and
I'm
that's
like,
something,
that doesn't go right
that's
with.
been a really huge important thing that we did from day one with Coach360 was awarding people who we
Yeah.
thought were doing these things in merit, right? And like
Earned
you'll
it.
see, most of our
Mhm.
campaigns are not even about businesses. It's about small coaches. It's about coaches making
Yeah.
impact,
So
right?
love it.
It's like honoring the people who are often forgotten about. And that to us is super, super important. I think, I said this in the beginning, but trainers are and coaches are the backbone of this industry. They are the people entrusted with these bodies, with these minds, with these hearts, with the spirit. And they're underappreciated and they're undervalued 99% of the time. Maybe not 99, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
At least when I became a trainer, it was probably 99% of the time. I'd say we're probably closer to like 80 now.
Yeah.
But I think that those are the important things. Those are the people who deserve those kudos. Like a multi-million dollar brand probably doesn't necessarily need their kudos like that. When we put together like our
Yeah.
gift list, we put in things that we loved straight up. Kathleen put her favorite brands to train in this year. I put in some of the cacao from Hannah and Kate because that was one of my favorites. Tona
Mm.
leggings, shout out to them. They're doing PFAS free leggings and they feel like they're so high quality. They're super buttery. They're like lovely to wear. They're not just like hard and uncomfortable. They're great quality. So I put those in, not
Yeah.
because they paid me, but because I love them and I stand behind what they're doing. And so
Sure.
I just think if there's more authenticity behind those things, we start to earn more trust in our reputation and people believe
Yeah.
in what we're putting out there.
I like what you all did with the
Oh,
Ignite
they
series. By the way, I watched every single one of them and it was such a
yeah.
diverse selection of people and the value, like it was so good. So well done.
Thank
I know you probably all were all part of that and selection and all that. And I can imagine
you.
putting that all together and everyone's schedule and everything like that. But just the production of it all, the delivery, and then more importantly,
Mhm.
just the value. Like I don't want to hear the highlight reel of someone's
Yeah.
brand. Like this was like practical, go do less about my experience of what I've done. It's like, here are some practical pieces, best practices that you can go do as an operator. So great job
Thank
on
you.
the Ignite series. I do got to tell you, I do think there's an opportunity across the media outlets in our industry. It's those fuzzy micro. I keep seeing these
Yeah.
like video posts and people are holding fuzzy microphones. I'm like, that is the lamest thing. You would never catch me with a fuzzy microphone. Why
Mhm.
don't people and sorry, I'm a little sick, so my
No.
voice keeps cracking, but why don't they put the little
Yeah.
plastic mic or like actually just hold a microphone? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's those fuzzy microphones that get me every time. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna slap that out of your hand. Like, take that off the
So
fuzzy things. It's just, no, it drives me nuts. Anyways, that's my
I love it.
only gripe with
I don't
the
use one, so you
only
can have
one, I
that gripe.
promise. I know. That's why I follow and watch Coach360 and all the
Oh
events
my
because there's no fuzzy microphone.
no.
It's not distracting. So speaking of operators though, what have you found 2025? And then as you, not to reveal the secret sauce and
Yeah.
stories of 26, but what are you finding that operators are really gravitating towards? What kind of stories have been very valuable
Ooh,
for them?
I think like really what I just hit on, right? People don't care about your press release. They don't. They don't care about this like new thing you're doing like that in a press release form. I think that humanizing is going to be everything. And I say this, I think you can probably attest to this when we hopped on a call for our story that I probably gave you my spiel, which is I could go on your website and I could regurgitate a bunch of information and it would be boring as hell. I don't need to tell that story, which is why we hop on and have that conversation. And Give us
Yeah.
meaning, make us feel something, humanize that experience, because the
Mm.
more and more the world goes digital, the more people are going back to their roots. They're going back to, I mean, even in the kitchen, people are like making their own breads. They want to be more reliant. They want to not be so stuck in a system that feels not real and not like they're a part of it. They want to feel that meaning. And so I
Yeah.
think for operators, why did you get into this industry, right? Tell us more about what was the passion behind it. Everybody has their why, whether it was they experienced something around them, maybe someone in their family got sick and they started to care a lot about health, or they experienced that, or they came from an addiction background and all of a sudden fitness became a better outlet for them to see hope for a brighter future. I mean, these stories are what drive people to give a shit, quite frankly. So I think the
I love
more
it. I love it. And by the way,
I know.
you made me hungry. You're talking about this bread creation. Everyone's down this like sourdough bread creation. It's the craziest thing. I can't stop eating it. It's so good.
Sourdough?
It's so good.
I
Everyone's on
know.
this like
I do
sourdough
have a
kick and
sourdough
I'm
starter
loving it.
named Rooster Beast.
There you go. I love it. Well, I want to switch
Yeah.
gears into this coaching economy because since the pandemic, it's changed quite a bit, whether it's around staffing, retention, a lot of chatter around burnout and even career ceilings.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we talk about that I experienced whilst in it, and I think a lot of trainers and coaches have shared, is that there's no real career trajectory. It's kind of like you're passionate about helping people or you're passionate about fitness. You decide to make it a career and you show up. It feels like you have two choices. You show up and you go work for somebody else or you start your own business. And I think there are two issues, right? Like one, starting your own business. Most people have the passion, but they don't have the business acumen. They don't have the understanding how to market themselves. They don't know how to do finances. There's so much that goes into running a fitness business besides fitness. And so they're lacking that
Right.
business side. And so it makes it easy to want to depend on a gym, but you can't always count on them to give you a set amount of hours, a set pay. You can't necessarily make enough money to support a family. You can't necessarily find something that's going to give you a 401k or, any sort of health insurance. And so it becomes really hard when there's no clear trajectory of like, what is the next 30 years of my life spent on the floor at LA Fitness trying to pick up clients? Is there something more I can do with this? What's it going to look like in 10 years? Is there a way for me to make more money? Is there a way to, expand my
Mhm.
revenue stream? And so I think that is a
Mm.
really, really hard one. And I think one of the biggest issues with that too is that obviously we talk about the
Right.
churn rate. It creates this huge churn. Good quality talent, they don't stick around. And then we're spending millions every
Yeah.
year across the industry, if not billions, on retraining, hiring new people, going without staff for a while. I mean, and then we're not making smart matches so people don't stay. And that's part of what FitScore is looking to, solve. Yeah.
Yeah. Walk me through that because, I've gotten a chance to learn a lot about it and read the launch and article put out there
Yeah.
through Coach 360. But yeah, it sounds like
Totally.
it's solving that problem of this like revolving door, but it's benefiting both sides. Not
Yeah. So FitHire is now rebranded. It was Marketplace by Coach360, and it is our solution to the issues with job placement and job retention in the fitness industry, health and wellness, kind of across that. And the thing that's cool about FitScore, I think, let me break it down in a way that's like very digestible for people to understand. Let's say you and I are both trainers and we're looking to get hired and we apply to a few of the same jobs. For example, let's say Training Mate is one of them. So with Training Mate, what they look for in their trainers is they want someone who's super cheeky, they're cracking jokes, they're like your buddy, they're a vibe. They're a party. Like you'd want to invite them over and have them be around your friends and whatever. Like that's the vibe. I think that one of the most important things is to understand how valuable your staff is. I mean, I can speak on behalf of myself and probably millions of other people that you show up because you love who's teaching the class. You show up because your personal trainer is holding you accountable. I have left places because trainers or coaches leave. I think that that is such a huge part of the experience. And so they're everything. Having those coaches that are going to stay, who are going to build those relationships, who are creating those raving fans for you. They're obsessed with your gym. They can't stop talking to other people about your gym because they love the experience so much,
change.
right? Which is one of the biggest issues because If you don't have the right fit, you're not going to keep the staff. You have to pay them
Mm,
well, you have to train them well, and you have to make sure that you keep them engaged. Because if there's no way for them to grow, if there's no way for them to do more, they're going to get bored. They're going to want to leave. If they feel underappreciated, they're going to want to leave. So you have to have that right cultural fit, which is really hard to find on a resume. Having that understanding, like the fit score or something like that, which gives you a much better read on whether that's going to be a good long-term match for you is, it's so much better if I can say, hey, I'm Elisa. I love to interact with my
mm,
clients. I'm super high energy. Like, I'm very positive. I love to motivate people with like kindness and blah, blah, blah. That's totally different than me handing you a piece of paper and you being like, okay, you're NASM certified, you're ISSA certified, you were a personal trainer for 6 years at a gym. Okay, you
mhm.
seem like you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And especially that's like really important if I'm going to a military boot camp style type of gym and I'm
Yeah.
about to come in and be like,
We see that.
yay, you did 10 push-ups. I'm so proud of you. And you need someone who's like, do more, right? Those are totally different. Totally different. Yes. Yes. And that's exactly why fit score is so important because it's giving us grades. And if you and I were going out for the same job and like like let's say we're going out for training mate and it's very cheeky energy, high energy, very positive, they like to crack jokes throughout class and you come in there and you're more of like a yoga instructor vibe. So let's say you're like more of a yoga instructor, you might be a 4.5 fit score for something like training mate because you're soft and you're flowing and you
Mm,
want to make sure everybody's
yeah.
understanding and we're on the right pace. And you need someone who's going to be a 9.8 who's like, did I see you drop those weights, Albert? I think you were doing 40s last week, weren't you, bud? You going to be the guy at the gym dropping your weights on me?
That's the one I need. I need the hard coach, the bossy one, the one that's going to deal with my stubbornness. So that's the one I want.
Yeah. It's multi Yeah, so the fit score through Fit Hire is something that we plan to implement. We haven't done it yet because we're still looking for our backing financially. Holler if you'd like to get in on it. Give us a call. Yes. And it's going to be multi.
Interesting. And that's cool about FitScore. So you're using AI to actually vet through what is it? The resume, some of the questionnaires that they're filling out.
Have they worked in group fitness and one-on-one? Have they, had experience in multiple types of gyms? And then you're going to have a video where I can come on here and say, hey, my name's Elisa. I'm this certified. My experience is like this. And this is like an example of me.
If I had, I'd invest in this because this is exactly what we need in the industry is this almost this like AI powered
Yep.
vetting process so that I know I'm investing in a talented person.
And they'll be able to say, like, right, let's say you're hiring for a studio and they're like, hey, we found 8 local fits who are above an 8, and we think you should check them out. And that just took you from maybe having 50 people who applied to your job that are not going to be a good fit. And now you have the top
Right.
5, top 8, whatever, right? And you can look
Mhm.
through them and kind of see, like, you'll know from a video, you'll know from that vibe, right? If all these people have the same credentials because
Sure.
they're all certified personal trainers who have all worked in big box gyms or have all done this or that, well, where's the differentiation? And so to be able to have that personality.
Yeah. Show me an assessment. I want to see, the biomechanics assessment. Show me the science that you understand how to work out these body parts. You throw that into, you throw that into the AI as well. It's going to pick up on the highlights and red flags too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we are about to have so much fun. I am so, so stoked for Career
Mm.
Lab. So we have capped it. We're only going to sell a certain amount of tickets.
Love it. Yeah. Huge. This is exactly what the industry needs. So it's awesome that you all are spearheading that. So kudos to you, Kathleen and Al and Coach360. We need you all. So for those listening, if you know someone that is looking to invest in something like that, and again, AI is hot right now. I think that's where all the capital is funneling to. Super exciting. But then in comes Career Lab. So walk us through that because that's January 17th, right? On a Saturday in good old LA and Cali
Way
when it's
I'm super pumped. We have this year some really, really
nice.
cool, interesting people. We have Luke Milton from Training Mate. I use Training Mate as an example because I work there. I love them. So we have Luke coming to do a keynote. We have Wendy Fortino, who is an 8-time Olympian competitor, editor, awesome. We have some staples like Mary Chris
Yeah.
and Nate Highland. They're amazing. They have so much to contribute. Nate does international business. Mary Chris has her own Move with Mary
Awesome.
Chris and also does international. She does modeling, like it's across the board. We have Rebecca Hull from Fit Stop, which is like my obsession right now. Lots of cool stuff. Like I said, Hannah and Kate are coming in to do a cacao ceremony to set intention for the day.
Cool.
Talk or food trucks during lunch, which is like so LA of us. I love it. Lots of cool stuff. Breakfast, like $100 to get in. It's
Amazing.
a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes. And I think a lot of times it's like a lot about the expo hall. It's a lot about the people that you have to go meet because you've connected on the internet. And now you have to make an in-person connection. You got to go do this and you got to do that. And there's 6 competing talks at once that you have to decide. Meanwhile, you also have to decide if you should make
Oh,
it to that
awesome.
meeting.
Yeah.
And, like that can be really overwhelming. And so to have one itinerary where all people are focused on the same things,
All right. Now I think I'm
like
coming.
a real
I love
connector, and
that.
it's for coaches and trainers. Like that's really who it's for. And
Love
I
it.
think that makes it really unique and
I love
special
it.
because it's about leveling up career. It's about, all these things that we were talking about.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said too. It's people coming in that are looking to level up, right? Sometimes you get some of these conferences and it's more of a, check out my equipment. This is actually to let me develop your career pathing.
We would love to have you. Thank you so much for the good. Come get some cacao. Come hang out. I'll take you to Mudwater. We'll get some lattes. I appreciate it. Thank you for the amazing questions.
And then if any of you are a fitness or wellness operator who wants cash visibility, utilization modeling, pricing structure, and capital planning so your decisions are clear and defensible, always reach out to me on LinkedIn or take a look at us on our website, strategointel.com. This has been another episode of The Owner's Seat. As always, I'm your host. Lovely to be here with Elisa. I'm Albert Ramos. Every episode drops Monday and Fridays now, 8 a.m. Central. Elisa, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you soon when I sneak into potentially some career lab action. Cacao. I need some cacao. All right. See you, everybody.